My name is Michaela, and I am here to talk about the emotionally insecure family. This is a term that I kind of made up for what I'm about to explain today. So, in this first video, I just want to talk about what an emotionally insecure family looks like. If you hear me say EI, I'm just talking about emotionally insecure. So, I also want to add that I am not a professional therapist or psychologist. This is just a video explaining my childhood experiences, research, and just general observations that I've made over the years. So, one of the first ways you know that you grew up in an EI family is there's a lot of unhealthy self sacrificing. So, maybe you know somebody in your family who is constantly self sacrificing themselves, constantly doing things that they don't want to do, and you kind of see the misery in them where you know they don't want to do a certain thing for another family member, or you know they don't want to go show up to a family function, but they do it anyway to still be a part of the family. So you have somebody that's self-sacrificing not because they genuinely love and cherish and honor that person, but because they feel like if they don't, then something will happen. If they don't, then they'll look a certain way, or if they don't, they won't be accepted anymore. Self-sacrificing eventually takes a toll on your body. People don't realize how connected the soul is to your body. So a lot of times when you sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice and never say no, it'll manifest as a mental disorder or a physical illness. So number two, a big sign that you may have grown up in a emotionally insecure family is there are a lot of confusing and unhealthy relationship dynamics. Was there a lot of cheating or adultery in your family where a lot of things were kind of kept on the hush or not talked about? Are there a lot of blended families in your family? So do you have a lot of stepsisters, stepbrothers? They're typically repeated cycles. So more than likely, if you see that happening in your current close-knit family, it more than likely happened generations back. A lot of the relationships in this type of family dynamic started because they didn't feel loved at home. Instead of it being a relationship based off of what do we want in the future, where do we see ourselves growing to? It's not based on the practical compatibility things, the things that are needed to keep a relationship going long term. They're more so started as a source of love. Also, a lot of us come from a long family history of great grandparents, great great grandparents who bonded with their significant other out of survival, out of a need, because they had to. And that's why you see a lot of Papa was a Rolling Stone type situations where the families don't meet until the funeral. It's this division of true desire. And truthfully, with any relationship started off as a void filler, they cannot be sustained long term because we are human beings. We grow, we change, we learn what we love, we learn what we hate. And when a relationship is based off of one of the things that constantly change, whether it's looks, whether it's the ability to validate each other, sometimes that's going to fluctuate in relationships. So when it's based off of that, it's no way that they can be sustained. So in these type of family dynamics, you see a lot of broken, unhealthy relationships. So number three, there are many family secrets and it's a confusing family history. So many problems that come up in this type of family, they're never resolved. They're kind of pushed to the side. If they are brought to the surface or if somebody does try to talk about it, it's usually a lot of blame shifting, a lot of that didn't happen, just constantly trying to deflect from reality so that the family member or the family doesn't have to feel that shame and that guilt of what happened. It never gets brought up. It never gets truly talked about because of the heavy regret and shame that the family has carried from generations back. Nobody wants to feel like they did something wrong because it's a heavy shame and insecurity within that says, because I didn't do this, I'm bad. So I have to protect myself. I have to protect my ego. Number four, there's an inability to be fully happy or expressive without judgment. In these types of families, you'll often notice that most people are very reserved and angry looking, or it's a lot of mistrust and kind of conniving energy between everybody. Nobody fully bonds, nobody fully connects with each other. It's a lot of mistrust, it's a lot of just baggage that you can feel in the family. And this type of feeling will always be there as an underlying current because of the problems that were never solved. It's constantly a feeling of being fearful of what'll happen, who's going to say what, who's going to do what. So it kind of suppresses your ability to be fully happy and fully express yourself. Also, in these type of families, it's hard for everybody to accept each other for who they truly are. It's typically a lot of judgment, whether you're very loud and extroverted, whether you're a person who likes to wear certain things, or if you're a person with a certain sexual orientation. It's a lot of heavy judgment on who you are as a person. And this air of judgment can come from family members wanting to feel superior over other family members. And also, there's a genuine air of unforgiveness in the family. Nobody can fully forgive or trust one another. It's a lot of condemning and shaming, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't be that. It's a lot of shaming in these types of family groups. Pessimism and fear of failure. Everything in this type of family dynamic is fear-based, especially when you want to do something outside the family, or maybe you want to do something that the family has never seen before. It's rare that you'll actually get genuine support. It's rare that you'll continue to get love and honor even as you do something risky. Nobody wants to look like a failure or stupid to the other members of the family. Everybody wants to be successful in some type of light. A lot of people in these type of family dynamics realize that I can't go to my family for the type of support in doing the things that I know I want to do. So number 6, there's a lot of physical and emotional distance. Typically, people in these family dynamics end up spreading out physical wise to start families of their own. The relationships are still very surface level. Even though we love each other, it's hard to really go deep and intimate into relationships because the conversations never go deep or intimate. It's often a lot of blame shifting and blanket positivity, like, oh, everything will be okay, don't even worry about it. It's rare to actually have an intimate conversation about what's going on. So we'll do it like that. Number 7, emotionally insecure families love religion. Religion is almost like an outlet for emotional insecurity because you don't have to further investigate the emotions. You don't have to further investigate what happened to you, what happened to the family. So a lot of times you see a lot of heavy reliance on religious laws or religious books to either shame other people or to encourage other people. For example, say you just lost your job. Oftentimes, if you bring this information to the emotionally insecure family, they can't really help you on an intimate level. They may tell you, oh, it's okay, God got you. It's okay, just focus on God. And that's not a bad thing. God has definitely helped me so much in my life. But at the same time, it's rare that you actually go deep and intimate into any issues. How do you feel about that? Where could you have done better? Do you think that he meant this by this? Do you think she meant that by this? Fully being curious and investigating the problem rather than just throwing blanket statements on it. All right, number 8. There's a deep need for approval and validation outside of the family. Because these type of families can't provide true, genuine validation, that validation that comes from the soul, that's true, that's truly connected, these people typically look for validation outside of the family in an unhealthy way. So kind of like I said earlier, they look for that relationship to feel the love they didn't receive from their mom or their dad. They look for that validation through a job to feel like they're doing good in life and they're accepted. So I like to call this the running family. We're constantly running to find validation, running to find where we're accepted. And I'm going to keep it so honest with y'all. If you know you're from a family like this and you never take the time to heal, you never take the time to introspect and understand what type of family you came from and why you feel the way you do, you will constantly run and search for validation, approval, whatever it is. You have to slow down. You have to slow down, take a step back, and connect with yourself. There is no person or job who can validate you more than you can validate yourself. Because we didn't get that source of validation from our family, it's now our responsibility to almost parent ourselves and foster that within us, foster that validation and feeling of worthiness within ourselves. Because if we don't, we're constantly going to try to find every job, person, or thing to make us feel worthy. And we have to do that for ourselves. Whew. Ooh, y'all, I'm tired of talking. I'm tired. Number 9, little to no humility, express shame, or self-reflection. So because the deep pains of the family, the events that caused a lot of trauma are never really brought up to the surface, it's hard for shame to be expressed. What I mean by that is it's hard for one who has done wrong or stayed quiet or observed abuse to come out and say, yes, I did it. Yes, I seen it. To experience shame in the emotionally insecure family is almost like putting yourself up on a cross. It's almost like asking to be stoned, or at least that's the feeling of it. Nobody wants to be outcasted. Nobody wants to be looked at as the bad person. Nobody wants to be abandoned from their family. So instead of admitting to wrongdoings, instead they run from it, they cover it up, they deny it, and things of that nature. Nobody wants to feel like they're the bad person or wrong. And a lot of times in these families, there's also no type of self-reflection. Nobody wants to sit down and truly look at how they added to the trauma or how they affected different people in the family, because to self-reflect means to realize that you may have been wrong. To self-reflect means that you may have been at fault. Therefore, you'll feel the shame of being wrong or feeling bad or feeling sinful. And because no one in this type of family dynamic can fully take accountability, it makes it hard to hold other family members accountable, because if they do that, that means they have to be accountable to their own mess too. So nobody wants to fully sit down and just feel that shame. If that's a word. I don't know if that's a word. So I hope y'all can see so far that shame really is one of the biggest driving factors of the emotionally insecure family. Nobody wants to admit to being wrong. Nobody wants to admit that they done wrong, that they could have did better, that they noticed something, that they seen something. Nobody wants to look like the bad guy in these types of family dynamics. And also, a lot of deep pains aren't brought to the surface because there's little to no emotional regulation. It's a fear to express every emotion. It's a fear to truly connect with the soul as it is. And we're human beings. We go through so many different emotions. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we regret, sometimes we grieve. And that's so beautiful and so natural. But in the EI family, it's a fear of being human. It's a fear of feeling emotion. It's a fear of being wrong, a fear of being too happy, a fear of expressing, a fear of being abandoned. It's constantly a fear of being. There's an unhealthy attachment to family for guidance. The people who have mastered certain things are typically the people you want to go to for advice. So in these unhealthy dynamics, a lot of times people will end up going to their families for opinions and advice that they cannot offer, that they're not qualified to offer. And because you love your family and you want validation from your family, and in a way you don't want to be wrong in front of your family, it's common for a lot of people to run back to their families and ask for advice or guidance on things that they don't really know much about, or they haven't been the healthiest in themselves. A lot of times it'll be a crab in a barrel type of mentality where if they never seen it done before, they're just going to pull you back down. As much as you may love your family, as much as you may cherish their time, or as close as you want to be with your family, we have to look at if they can genuinely provide us the correct information and expertise that we're seeking for where we want to go. I also want to add that there's nothing wrong with connecting with and talking to your family. There's nothing wrong with that. But in these type of dynamics, it becomes unhealthy when we can't make a decision unless we get the approval from our mom or our dad, or we're discouraged when the family doesn't agree. I hope y'all got something from this. I do plan on posting more videos, but feel free to leave a comment or a suggestion on what y'all want me to talk about. I would be so happy to. If you've made it this far in the video, I thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for being here. And I will see you all later. Bye.